Give me a few minutes to show you how an EQ works, what it does, and how to use it. This is not a comprehensive learn everything you need to know kind of video. The goal here is to give you a basic and fast understanding of EQ you can run with. Let's talk about EQ. What is EQ? EQ simply means equalization, which is a plugin intended to manipulate the frequency content of your recording as well as other elements in your production. What an EQ specially does is to alter the volume of some specific frequencies, and that's it. So before I can proceed teaching you how to use the EQ, first I'm going to record my vocals on the beat that I just made. Yeah. Whoa, na 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 na. It was your baby, yo. Better, party, better. You I go die for 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 better, party, better. Anything you say, I go do. I go do anything for you. Porsche and Ferrari, I go buy 'em. Gucci and Givenchy for you. Anything you say, I go do. I go do for you. Anything you tell me, I go buy 'em. I go buy for my baby, yo. Love is magical. Love is magical. You I go die for better, party, better. You I go die for better, party, better. Now you I go die for. Now you I go die for. They wish you baby, yo. So this is a stock EQ. We can also use a vintage EQ, which looks like this. The vintage EQ has knobs, but doesn't have the visual aesthetics just like the channel EQ, but they ultimately do the same thing. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to use the channel EQ, which is a little bit easier to visualize. EQ have three primary controls that every EQ should have. First is the frequency. This will control which frequency range that we want to alter. You can see we can go from 20 Hz all the way down from the left to 20K on the right. All these are actual frequencies. These are measured in hertz, which are directly related to pitch. So in the EQ sense, this is the tonal characteristic that we're going to be shaping. The second control is volume. We can manipulate these frequencies by adding or subtracting volume from that specific frequency. Example, if I want to remove some of these 2K frequencies, I can subtract it or I can boost it. As you can see on this little dot right here is where I used to do that, which will show me the amount that we are doing it, and that is going to be measured in decibels or dBs. The third is the shape that we can use. There's a filter which is going to be something like this right here at the top end, or something like this right here on the bottom end. So this right here at the bottom is called a high pass filter, which will cut it below the amount that we set it to. So this shaded region will be completely eliminated. So as you can see, I've set it to about 100 Hz. Everything below the 100 Hz will be eliminated. Now the shelf is going to look like this. So the shelf is either going to boost or subtract in a shelf-like shape. It's not entirely going to add or remove. So the third type of shape is the bell shape, which is going to be used especially in the middle frequency spectrum. So you can see as I boost this, it looks like a bell. So we can control the actual width of the bell by manipulating this knob over here, which is called the Q control or the Q factor. As we bump that up, you can see it's getting more and more narrower and makes the figures smaller. That number will add more width to the actual frequency. So in practical sense, these controls are the most important controls to be aware of. Yes, you can go way more deeper, but for now, these are the ones that we're going to focus on. The pitch of these frequencies go from lowest all the way down here. So this is going to be super bassy. 80 Hz is going to be where the bass and kick is sitting, all the way to 20 Hz where it's going to be extremely sibilant. That's gonna be more of this. Now every sound we can use is ultimately made up of more than one frequency. So even if you're singing in A, which is 440 Hz, there are going to be more frequencies that will be present in that sound that is just 440 Hz because of the room harmonic series and bunch of other mathematical reasons. We're not going to get into that. So you can see me singing on A. So now you can see that there's more going on in the 440 Hz other than the vocals itself. You can see some frequencies underneath of it and another couple of 100 Hz above it and all the way up and so on and so forth. That is the room as well as the harmonic series that is actually impacting the sound. So it is not just that one frequency that is present, even though it was only that range that I sang. So if I boost that frequency up, you'll be able to hear that mid-range woofy sound that is not desirable. If you are using a headphone or a pair of studio monitors, you'll be able to hear that. We can actually use EQs to remove that. That woofy sound is often present in vocals, especially for home studio producers who don't have a well-treated environment. And it also depends on the microphone that you are actually using. So we can use a bell cord to remove about 3 dBs. Let's be surgical with that to remove that rumble. So because I'm saying this is what you will need, doesn't mean you always have to do this. So it depends on the actual track and the context of that vocal. Well, I may not actually want to do that. So this is where the concept is going to come down to using your ears. Another example is a piano. So remember, a piano is a very resonant instrument when you're thinking on how to approach a piano. So if there's something sounding bad, you should focus your attention on where that sound is coming from on the frequency spectrum. You can do that by boosting the narrow band bell to the point where you can clearly hear and then sweep through the frequencies like this. You can hear how that is sweeping through. Now this is not what you can rely on long term, but it's something you can use to train your ears. If there's something that you've detected in your track that is sounding on the mid-range that you're not comfortable with, get the EQ, boost it, sweep, and do the opposite. As you sweep, you're probably gonna feel like everything sounds bad, because ultimately if you boost everything in the frequency, it's gonna sound bad. So you may not want to go cutting everything because they sound bad. On the flip side, there may be some frequencies that you may want to add a sound or color to add brightness to this instrument, or for example something like a bass or a kick. This piano right here, I can decide to add some brightness with something like a high chef at about 8K region. Yes, off, and yes, on. Yes, off, and yes, on. So it's not much of a big difference, but it does sound brighter. Most EQs will have multiple bands. A band is simply the number of times that you can use to adjust the EQ. Not all EQs have the same numbers of bands. Some EQs have just one band. So for the fact that you have different types of bands on the EQ doesn't mean that you will go using all of them all at once. A mistake I see a lot of producers do is to make so many unnecessary EQ moves, so you have to be careful about that. Another thing you have to keep in mind is that whenever you boost the volume of your EQ, it's going to increase the overall volume of that sound. So you have to keep an eye on the fader so you wouldn't go out of control of clipping. I'm going to talk about clipping in my next video. Now, if you really love to start making pro sounding productions, then you should check out my production course, which has helped over 400 producers level up their production game. In this week, I just released a video on compression. If you want to increase your production quality, then you should click on the link in the description below to get it. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel. Then I'll see you in my next video where I'm going to teach you comprehensively how to EQ your vocals. D-Bush loves you. Cheers.